Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Ed Martin here on the Pro America Report. So much happening in America right now, so much happening in politics, in policy. Just down the block here, I'm at the Rumble DC studio, just down the way at the Capitol. They are in session, both House and Senate. I'm not sure they're doing much, but they're here, a lot of the members, and mostly what's happening is Donald Trump's cabinet is taking shape. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. But there's a lot to cover about what's going on in this transition. And by transition, I mean, yes, we've got a bunch of people that are going to go into the new administration. Yes, we've got Donald Trump's policies. But the world doesn't start spinning, doesn't stop spinning. And there's all kinds of things. We're going to touch base with Todd Bensman and talk about the border. We're going to talk with John Schlafly, and we'll actually also talk to an author friend of mine, AJ Rice, about his new book. So a lot's happening. But first, interesting guest right now. I was speaking with a friend of mine. He said, hey, we've got one of the leaders of the Polish major party. There's really two parties there, more than that, but there are two major parties. One is the Law and Justice Party, and it's now in the minority. And the vice chairman of that party is with us today. His name is Patryk Jaki, and I'll put up on his link on X. And so he's here in studio. So first of all, welcome to America. You serve in the European Parliament, and you're from Poland. You've been in politics. You're the vice chair of a big party. What is the reaction to Donald Trump winning?
Yeah, glad to have a pleasure. So it depends, of course, who you ask.
Right.
If you ask the European elites or mainstream, they are terrified.
Yeah.
But if you ask to European conservatives, there's a big hope because of the Donald Trump winning. So I think that the main question is why the European elites are terrified.
Right.
And I think that, first of all, because of the climate policy.
Right.
European elites invest a lot in this green madness. And if Donald Trump realizes his policy, drill, baby, drill.
Right. Famous, yeah, of course.
The United States take over the European Union more than ever, and they know that they will lose competitiveness. So this is, I think, the first factor.
Right.
Second is because they are afraid. The Europe elites are afraid that the Trump administration can back to the project to build something like a strategic sovereignty in the Central Europe,
right,
which be a project instead of German and Russia agreement, which they share influence through the Europe. So it will be like a free seas initiative,
right?
Which we know from the history, like Polish-Lithuania Commonwealth, which was alternative to German and Russia dominance, and they are very afraid of this kind of policy.
Oh no, I didn't. That was again. Patryk Jaki is our guest with the Law and Justice Party. You all changed power. For 8 or 10 years, your party was in control, prime minister, controlled the parliament. Lots of things went on. Much of it, I think, people thought was positive. But ultimately, you got a new prime minister, Donald Tusk, who is very, very friendly to Germany, very friendly to the EU. He had the senior role. I mean, he basically was the president of the EU. I mean, he was a EU leader. And now he's back as prime minister. In America, we got a lot of language, be afraid for democracy. In Poland, Tusk has actually seized the television stations. He seized the Justice Department, the judges, without any due process, just said, I'm in charge now, I'll do this. And yet Europe is silent. They mostly are applauding him. I mean, in the party structure in Europe, he took away the ability for your party to get funding. So the threat to democracy in Poland seems to be Donald Tusk. But it's not being covered that way.
Because in the European Union, they don't like democracy.
They don't like democracy. They like to say they like it, yeah?
Yeah, because they are conquered by wokeness and gender ideologies. And with some exception in the European Union, which is Poland and Hungary. And in Poland, it's a difficult situation because we have a Prime Minister Tusk, like you mentioned, but we have still President of Republic, which is Andrzej Duda. It's this difficult, more difficult system than you had in the United States. So we have a still strong conservative community. And we try to build force to maintain democracy. And of course, as you mentioned, that Tusk, he is a real German puppet, and he take over General Prosecutor Office, even though that he need permission from the President Duda, some President of the Republic, and he don't care. He take over the office using a force.
Using the force. They literally sent it. So the prosecutor is, you can change it out, but only with permission of the president. So there's a check and balance of the parliament, which is the prime minister, and the executive, which is Duda in this case. And so Tusk literally calls out the law enforcement to seize it, and nobody says a thing. Same thing with the television station, right? He just takes the television. How do you beat that? You got an election in the spring, or soon. Can you beat it, or are you on the run?
And if I may add, he did the same with the courts. So he take over the courts.
Right.
And we have even a statement from Supreme Court that he.
Oh right, yeah. The Supreme Court said you can't do that.
Yeah,
and he just ignored it.
Yeah. So the real prosecutor, general prosecutor, he tried to came to his office, and Tusk used police. Right. To keep buildings.
Yeah, amazing.
It's difficult to believe that something like this is doing in Europe. They are doing in Europe. However, you asked if we have chance, and I think yes, we still have a chance. And the next year there is a presidential election in Poland, and we are leading in polls now. Yeah. So there is a big chance.
Well, we're just going to run out of time, so I want to go back to Trump. We started with Trump, and I want to go back to Trump. We're talking with Patryk Jaki, and he's the vice chairman of the Law and Justice Party in Poland, the second largest party, depending on how you lay it out, but certainly the second largest or the largest. Back to Trump. Do the people of Poland, like the people of America, lots of them, maybe not everyone, but a lot, feel like something good is happening? I know you've talked about your career. You're a lawyer. You worked in the Justice Department in Poland, and your party work has been about sovereignty and how Poland as a nation, a sovereign nation, protects itself, which is much more important to Polish people because they've only been in existence off the boot of the Soviets since 1989, or so less than 50 years. But is Trump something that everybody people in Poland say, oh yeah, we can have that? And can you see it, or are you being CNN blinding your people to what is happening?
So for the leftists, of course, CNN is blinding people, but for biggest groups of our citizens, I see hope. I see big hope of the President Trump, of a fantastic victory. And it's hope also not only about geopolitics, like I mentioned, not only about the climate policy and economy. It's about axiology also, because we are very Christian. Right. And lots of troubles with gender woke ideologies, we can find the sources in the United States. Right. And if he can succeed, it will be very important also for us. So we are John Paul II country. So for us, it's very important to return to the real foundation of the West.
Yeah, well, and I think that's right. I think I've spent some time in Poland. I have friends, especially in Hungary, they feel like Europe is closing in on them in terms of Western civilization. Thank you for taking the time to come in studio here. We're at Rumble, the great studios here at Rumble in the DC office. And we will put up on social media Patryk Jaki, again, vice chair of the Law and Justice Party in Poland. You'll see it up there on the screen. And super positive things happening in Poland, although this next 6 or 9 months is probably as important a period since maybe 1 or 2 times, but maybe since the Soviets left, and we'll see. So thank you. We'll take a break, everybody. We'll be right back. It's Edem Martinem here on the Pro America Report.